And welcome everybody to the Daily Space Weather. I'm your host Dan, aka smAsho, and we've got some things to talk about today that are interesting. First, we're going to look at the sun in 94 angstroms. It's a 1-day video from the SDO. And I will not be appearing on camera today because if I look as badly as I feel, it's a good reason to not show my face on my own video. Some active regions rising, as well as a good view of Sunspot 2781 in the south and Sunspot 2780 in the north. We've got some close-ups in a minute. First, let's talk about what the video will be about. We'll be talking about Sunspot 2781 and analysis. The KP index is at 0. We'll be talking about solar wind density and cosmic rays and quite a bit more. The 10.7 centimeter radio flux now up to 90. There's the view on Solon.info's graph. And solar minimum is over, folks. So I'm sorry if you hitched your star to the wrong wagon. Sorry if you painted yourself into a corner. Let that paint dry and get the heck out of that corner because solar minimum has ended. These levels of 10.7 centimeter radio flux have not been seen since September of 2017. There's a graph to prove it, and we're going to get a monthly average at like 80 or something like that once this is updated. Let's get to some HelioViewer movies. First, let me check the life of the stream, and let me encourage everybody, whether you're viewing live on Twitch, it's twitch.tv/smAsho, or if you're viewing on YouTube or BitChute, to leave us a comment. Tell your friends, tell your foes, tell your science noobs and your science pros. Here's these active regions rising here in the east in 171 angstroms, along with the Earth scale there. Great view of that. Here's Sunspot 2781, and I cut off the top of it a little bit here to include the South Solar Polar region. There has been a small crown prominence right here. It's very minor. Crown prominences are a sign of higher levels of solar activity, by the way, for you new viewers. Thanks for tuning in. And here's the same region in 171 angstroms. And more on this toward the end of the video, but the leading South Solar Polar Field aligned umbra it looks like it's eating up the trailing umbrae a little bit. And this has degraded a little bit over the past day. Likelihood of M-class flares has actually gone down a little bit despite the sunspot moving into a more optimal spot to create a detectable from Earth M-class flare. So today's Smash Light segment is going to be integrated because I've got things to do that I can't tell you about. First, I'd like to thank our patrons, the real source of funding for the content. You can become a patron at patreon.com/smAsho. We make about 2 cents per hour via Google AdSense on these videos. Why? I have no idea. Is it rampant censorship? Is it shadow bans? I don't know. But we've been stagnated at 1,600 subscribers for a long time, which is why we have very little incentive to make these videos. And if you're wondering why we make these videos, the main reason is so that I can view the data myself. So we've got a bunch of loyal viewers here, thanks to everybody that views the content every day. And let's get back to the video here. If you haven't checked it out, smashomash.com/forum yet, we invite you to go over and check it out. There's been some new posts over there, and we've set this up to run itself, so I don't mess around with this constantly. I don't look at this every day or anything. We've put some new stuff in the solar events logger under the Sun forum, as well as some stuff about cycling, actually, in general science and the free-for-all forum. smashomash.com/forum. And you can link to that from our homepage, as well as to all our social media. Just click on this little arrow in the upper right. It'll uncover our social media. Thanks, Smash staff. Please give Smash staff a raise. Maybe go to the smAsho store, pick up yourself some merch. And the first merch we've ever made is the smAsho Price My First Pandemic shirt, an homage to the pathetic and ridiculous response of mankind to the COVID-19 pandemic, attempting to mask the world, a completely and utterly ineffective policy to prevent the spread of a virus which can't be stopped by that kind of mask. What a joke. Buy a shirt. Congratulations on surviving a global pandemic. You can get it in colors too. Congratulations on surviving a global pandemic. So far. Here it is in pink. And you can, by the way, get this delivered before Christmas with standard shipping. Thanks to everybody who's bought merch, by the way. This one's available in a bunch of colors. How about a blaze orange one? Because nothing says don't run me over or shoot me like a blaze orange piece of clothing. And we're going to talk cosmology for a quick moment. First, again, I want to check the life of the stream and see if we have any chats. And we are good to go. Back to the cosmology segment, yes. I decided to put together a 13-year chart here, 13 years to the day of the Oulu neutron monitor. And if you notice, cosmic ray flux here versus here, it's eliciting when the solar minima happened. And if you notice, that is a higher level of cosmic ray flux than that. Oh, boy. All right, let's talk tactics. Are you aware of the difference between
tactics
and
strategy?
Tactics are like hiding behind a wall because somebody's shooting at you, taking cover, things like that, using camouflage to prevent yourself from being seen. Those are tactics. Strategy is making sure that the wall is there in the first place. Anyway, let's talk about some strategy. One of your strategies might be to watch Active Self-Protection, hosted by John Correa. If you want to see some interesting situations here played out on various security cameras. Judo skills stop the threat. More proof evil exists. Store owner takes the fight to robber. Guard beats bank robber to the shot, etc. Again, check out Active Self-Protection. The videos are fantastic. And it might teach you something that you're dying to know, or you might be dying if you don't know. So check it out. John Correa, Active Self-Protection. Shout out, drop me a line, John, if you're watching the video. Next, looking at our own channel here. Please press like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Visit our links. There are a bunch of them below the video. View our playlists. Press the notification bell. You might even see notifications. And branch out into alt tech, please. If you're a YouTube creator, please make sure you upload some exclusive content to BitChute and help to allow alt tech to sort of do its thing and maybe prevent a little bit of frauds and scams and abuse and lies and misrepresentation and censorship by big tech. We're also on Twitter. Check us out there. We've got over 2,600 tweets. Help us get to 100 followers. Now, I haven't been using this very much, which is why we're at such a low level here. Also, check out Gab. The heck do I have all these windows open for? Check out Gab as well. And let me just talk about the election for a quick moment. I don't believe that the markets believe that Joe Biden won the election, as the Dow futures are set to open 1,400 points above the unchanged line where they closed on Friday. So, yeah, Dow futures showing up 1,500 points. Now, that could be an indication that the market thinks that Biden won. And I don't want to oversimplify this because this is a daily space weather video. Space weather is involved in the markets. There are things like cyclical stocks, no matter how much money printing and the Federal Reserve would try to prevent those cyclical stocks from being cyclical. Significant uptick in the S&P 500 expected, as well as in the NASDAQ. So I believe this is still a mixed market scenario here, folks. Leave us a comment if you have a theory about it. Some good news about what may be coming, and I'm not going to read it. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and Gab and even Facebook, yes. And again, branch out into alt tech. Facebook.com/smashamash is not alt tech, but minds.com/smashamash is. And there's a bunch of exclusive content there. And a bunch of content that's all over the internet. And if you don't have a Minds account yet, please consider creating a minds.com account, minds.com. We need tokens. We're tanking over here, and we'd like to be able to boost our posts. So if you've got tokens, please send us some. And here's the Gab account. We just put up a post about a heaping helping of overreach, if you want to read that. Gab.com/smashomash. And again, we are streaming live to Twitch. It's twitch.tv/smashomash. I think I've said the word smash too many times today. It's enough to make me want to smash my head into a wall. And here ends today's Smash Light segment. Cosmology, well, all we're doing here is looking at Cygnus X3 to show that it is off of its quiescent state. So this is the average X-ray output from Cygnus X3, which aligns with this area on the historic chart. So this is the 30-day chart, and this is the 15-year chart, and this is the 1-day chart, or 3-day chart rather. And notice how it has come off of its quiescent state here. It's at a slightly higher level now than its average. And we're encouraging radio astronomers to fix their telescopes on Cygnus X3, as we want to see what this does when it comes out of its quiescent state. Unfortunately, I don't have access to a radio telescope. If you do, or if you know anybody who does, please refer them to our channel. Drop me a line. It's smashomash@gmail.com. Cygnus X3, by the way, is a high-mass X-ray binary consisting of a Wolf-Rayet star and an ultra-dense orbiting object, as well as a disk of ionized plasma in between them, and the jet from the massive condensed object is pointed right toward Earth. It is one of the only known point sources for cosmic ray flux. If you want to follow your favorite objects' X-ray emissions, head to Neil Gorell Swift X-ray Observatory. The Neil Gorell Swift Observatory Swift Bat Hard X-ray Transient Monitor. That's a mouthful. And for instance, if you want to see what the galactic core is doing, it's not producing a galactic superwave that can be experienced in our solar system. There are the outbursts from Sagittarius A star, and check it out, it's actually been very quiet here over the past about 15 days. Very low amount of transients coming up from the X-ray spectra of Sagittarius A star. That's the end of today's cosmology segment. We got to get back to space weather. Next, looking at the real-time solar wind to see a very low solar wind density, currently only at 2.25 protons per cubic centimeter, having reached all the way down to barely over 1 proton per cubic centimeter. And the coronal hole wind stream has ended more or less. We're down to 361 kilometers per second for the solar wind speed. KP index has been pegged at 0 for the past 15 hours. And I just wanted to cite one thing, folks. When you head to the Geospace Magnetosphere Movies page, and you see this light-colored density here, that's an indication right there that we've got a low solar wind density. And this gives me an idea every day of exactly the solar wind density and the speed by looking at just the pressure. This is the Geospace Magnetosphere movie, by the way, for you new viewers. Thanks for tuning in. Our channel attempts to tie together the variables and understand the physics of the generation of things like Earth's magnetosphere, the Sun's magnetosphere, the Sun's emission spectra, why sunspots are black, and so on and so forth. So we see a pretty low magnetohydrodynamic pressure here, largely being held up by the solar wind speed. As speed and solar wind density affect the pressure. Anyway, there's 4 hours of data on that. Next, we're going to go to ground magnetic perturbations. Looking a little closer to home, here is 4 hours of ground magnetic perturbation map. And I would recommend everybody keep their eye on this area over here, because the South Pole is someplace inside of that diamond, probably. And we've seen some oddities there. Possible indications that the South Geomagnetic Pole is moving this way towards South Africa. Who knows? Leave us a comment if you have a theory about it. Or, more importantly, if you have a theory as to how the Earth's geomagnetic field is generated. One of the greatest mysteries in all of science. Einstein was trying to figure it out. I don't think he pulled it off, although maybe he did know. Anyway, that's that data. Next, looking at the GOES X-ray flux to not see any M-class flares, exactly as I forecasted. And I said no M-class flares until the 9th. So while the position of the sunspot is now more likely to produce an M-class flare detectable at Earth, the degradation of the sunspot makes it less likely at the same time. So we could still see an M-class flare, as that is still a beta-class sunspot with significant propensity for flaring, and there is still a bunch of plasma suspended in between the sun and the Earth, so you're not really out of danger yet. There could still be a massive coronal mass ejection, whether or not you see a flare. And I believe if the one umbra degrades and the other one doesn't, that would be an indication that that plasma is probably going to release. And that probably does give some insight into its direction. If you're up before dawn, you may see the moon and Venus and Mercury all before the sun rises. Here's where stuff is located in the solar system. And we show this data every day so people have a little better visualization of how to tie things together. Some people are visual thinkers, some people are audible thinkers. There's where things will be in the solar system in 1 week. One day after the new moon, I'll be well rested on that day, most likely. As the Earth swings past Mars and in its closest Mars opposition here in quite a long time, and we won't be that close to Mars again until I think 2034. As Mercury and Venus swing around to lap the Earth again. GOES magnetometers are showing high highs and high lows, and don't be surprised to see some extremely spiky behavior out of this in the next 24 hours. That's my forecast, because here's the plasma plume that we're talking about. You see that very jumbled up area of potential field force lines, South Pole oriented ones? That is an indication that plasma is orienting to being heated up by and blocking the measurement of the coronal fields. So in any case, the Earth is going to snap across into the North Pole current sheet, shown here in green. Certainly over the next 36 hours, I'll go out on a limb and say the next 18 hours, the Earth will snap across and be in the North Pole oriented current sheet. Here's a line of sight field plot, and you can see that jumbled up region of plasma being suspended by sunspot 2781, right above the arrow right now. Let me bring up the latest image here. There's the latest image. And again, keep in mind the magnetic environment can change suddenly and with no warning. Here's the coronal potential field force plot, the magnetic fields of the corona. Actually, let me take a little break here. Thanks for leaving a comment, Sir Giddy. Sir Giddy says we're living on a magnet with a magnet in our chest. What magnet is that? There's no magnet in our chest. Meek shall inherit the earth, and without our help through grounding, Mama won't make it through this reversal. So we've got to all stand outside barefoot to do something about the magnetic reversal, Sir Giddy? Could you please clarify? Here at the smAsho News Network, the SNN, the least busted name in news, every day we look at the coronal potential field force plot. And don't be surprised if this data is a little bit bad, as plasma isn't the magnetic field and neither is the corona. However, the ionized gas known as plasma in the corona does align to the fields, eliciting where those potential field force lines are located. I would note the date stamps in the upper left. We're only going back about a week here. And let's move on to talk about electrons. We don't really see any charging hazards here. And we're at a pretty normal level of electron flux here, kind of in a moderate, regular, everyday range. The forecast is to be slightly upticked or a little bit flat here by NOAA. Here's a 3-day chart, and the NOAA forecast does show us getting slightly into warning territory, someplace up here probably. Probably not over 10 to the 4th, as that would be 10,000 pulse flux units. Here's a visualization of the entire atmosphere. The whole air column all the way up to the thermosphere, where a GPS satellite communicates to your GPS handset. And we actually see some anomalies here, some surprisingly dense regions of electron flux, as well as some anomalies over North America and Canada. Not to mention over the Indian Ocean and the Middle East and Antarctica. So some anomalies there with the electron flux. Here is just the ionosphere layer. Ionosphere looking pretty normal here so far. And we're endeavoring to show you 24 hours here. We used to only show 6 hours, but we want to show the whole day. So folks have an idea of how the ionosphere charges. Those highly charged portions, those higher frequency areas, those are just behind where the sun is located. And keep in mind it takes 8 minutes for even light or radio frequency to get to the Earth from the sun, as it's 93 million miles away. There's the latest image at 12:30 Universal Time. We saw a weird earthquake, a 3.6, originally reported as a 4 and downgraded to a 3.6, I believe. Probably felt in Boston and Providence and Concord. And even Long Island, it looks like, may have felt it. Interesting earthquake there in New England. And I'm a little jealous, as while I've been in many earthquakes here in Pennsylvania, I actually have never felt one. Oh, what is this? A Virginia quake has struck just a couple hours ago here at Richlands, Virginia. It's a 2.7 magnitude. Let's scroll up the list. We saw a couple deep quakes. By the way, that Massachusetts quake was close to the surface at 10 kilometers depth. All right, let me scroll. Thank you. All right, so Timor-Leste sees another deep quake. Pardon my scrolling. Again, we are streaming live. Basically, it's a big lull in earthquakes. And we see an uptick in volcanoes, something we see regularly here on the channel. A downtick in earthquakes and an uptick in volcanoes, or an uptick in earthquakes and a downtick in volcanoes. On the island of Kamchatka, Klyuchevskoye is erupting, and it's doing some effusive eruptions, producing a 23,000-foot ash plume, as well as some lava flows, elevated surface temperatures. Karimsky now also on the Kamchatka Peninsula, also exploding. Flight level 200, 20,000-foot ash plume there. Sakurajima exploding. That's a Japanese volcano, by the way. Flight level 050, 5,000-foot ash plume there. Suwanosejima exploded. Produced a 4,000-foot ash plume. Tukono exploded. Produced a 5,000-foot ash plume. Sangay exploded. Produced a 22,000-foot ash plume. Sabancaya exploded. Produced a 24,000-foot ash plume. Villarrica exploded. That's located in central Chile, by the way. And while it didn't produce a large ash plume, it produced some Strombolian-type explosions, blasting a bunch of hot liquid magma above the surface into the air. And if you're wondering the difference between lava and magma, magma is lava that's underneath the ground. As soon as lava reaches, it's almost like a meteor and a meteorite. Don't be the bridge between space and Earth that makes a meteor a meteorite, as it would be bad for your health. Another interesting thing here, the Michael volcano, located in the South Sandwich Islands, showing some possible low Strombolian activity and elevated temperatures near the summit crater. So significant uptick there in volcanoes. Let's take a look at jet streams now, go into meteorology stuff. Look at the extreme meridional jet stream flow here over the southern hemisphere. If people are telling you that the jet stream is now flat because the sun upticked, well, it's not true. What else can I say? It's simply not true. So yeah, here's the western world's jet streams. And look at this. We have a jet stream going almost due south and then almost going due north with only about 500 miles in between. Extreme meridional jet stream flow, to say the least. And let's see if we have any insight into this situation in Florida. Do we see any clockwise rotation? Let's let that load. Not really, but there's a big kink in the jet stream. Here are the surface winds. And we're not quite seeing hurricane force winds. It looks like a tropical storm to me, but I'm not going to get too in depth into it. Some interesting wind troughs in this area as well. Again, those are the surface winds, by the way. We usually look at 250 hectopascal winds on nullschool.net. Here's the pressure map, courtesy windy.com. There's where pressure cells are expected to be tomorrow at noon. Again, thanks, new viewers. If you're wondering where we're located in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, which is right about there, right where that little point pokes into Pennsylvania from New Jersey, west of the Delaware River. So we've got some lightning striking here in the U.S. right now. A little bit of lightning to the west of Minneapolis, as well as around Sioux City. I like to use lightningmaps.org when I hear thunder, so I can convince my foes that I'm Thor and my friends that I'm Odin, or perhaps vice versa. And here's the GO16 lightning mapper. You can see a great visualization. Massive lightning here over the Caribbean as well, as it continues for weeks and weeks. I don't know if that's normal. Leave us a comment if it's normal to see lightning for weeks and weeks over the Caribbean every day. Next, looking at U.S. Doppler Radar Map, and we see some wintry mix falling over Nebraska and South Dakota and Nebraska. And those lines of thunderstorms are, looks like they're moving at a pretty normal clip, as well as a bunch of snow here in Nebraska, as well as Colorado, Utah, even Arizona and New Mexico seeing some snow, and Montana's getting blanketed. We'll do a close-up of this tropical system here. There's what's going on in the cloud layer. And it's actually light where I am, but we showed this anyway. This is the NASA GOES Interactive Weather Satellite Shortwave Infrared Radiation Map. Yes, water puts out radiation. It tells us where the clouds most likely are. Here's a water vapor map. And we'll zoom in on that same area before we go to the Midwest. And just bear with me a minute. Check the life of the stream again here. Yes. So thanks again for leaving comments, Sir Giddy. Sir Giddy says, not sure how to give all the info in the chat, but surely you're able to put it together. You're much smarter than myself, but obviously haven't studied the same material. Thanks. Take things with a grain of salt, or perhaps a truckload of salt. Had to use that one on a friend the other day. Thanks for commenting also. Be stoic. Please leave comments in the YouTube chat so that our YouTube viewers can see it. And perhaps go comment on BitChute as well. Who knows? Anyway, there's that tropical system. And the reason it's going to stagnate and act real weird in the Gulf is because of this dry mass of air, which will weaken it most likely. Looks like it already is. And again, let's zoom in on that region in the north, in the Midwest Northern Plains region. To give folks up there some idea of how the system is going to play out. And that's going to keep moving due northeast here. Like, this dry mass of air here is going to just create a perfect little corridor there, and that's going to keep moving that same direction for the foreseeable future, at least for the next 12 hours or so. And hey everybody, thanks for tuning into the video. We are almost through with this thing. It's about that time to show you a couple more bonus features. Thanks for flying American smashways. Please keep your head and arms inside the smash plane at all times. Our bonus features include colorized magnetograms of Sunspot 2781. And there you can see it's degrading a little bit. And we've just seen some recent new North Pole magnetism popping up south of the leading umbra there. And that could be an indication that a flare is kicking off as we do the video. And we've regularly seen Divine Providence help us out on the channel. Divine Providence helps us out because pretty much nobody else does. So again, share the content in your social media. Tell your friends and foes, your science noobs and science pros. There's probably something for everybody in the content. Last but not least, here's a 48-hour video from the SDO. You can see some brightening there in the 131 angstroms wavelength. Those are solar flares. Some C-class ones are in this video. And that's about it. We're out of here. See you next time. May that solar wind be at your back. And that COVIDiously absent from your locale.